In the beginning of the story, a white van stops in a parking lot of a building. Then a man gets out of the car who has a big sniper rifle in his hand. He throws a coin in the parking lot to park the car and takes his position with a sniper rifle. In the sniper scope, a park is visible in front where a lot of people are walking. After looking at the whole environment for a while, he targets some random people in the park. Suddenly, he fires 6 rounds continuously and kills 5 innocent people present there. It means that whatever he sees in front of him, he is killing it. Even a woman who is walking with her little girl in her lap does not leave her either. In the beginning of the movie, you must be feeling strange by giving such a scene, right? Without telling anything, without any reason, why did he kill 5 people? Is he crazy or something else? But there's no need to worry. As soon as you watch the whole movie, you will find out how dangerous the story is behind this murder. Now, as soon as the news is received, the police immediately reach there and start destroying the entire crime scene. The head of this police team is Detective Emerson, who is considered to be extremely talented. After searching every corner well, Emerson gets some important evidence. He also gets the same coin that the criminal threw for parking. When he goes to the office and scans the fingerprint of that coin, it turns out that this fingerprint is of an ex-military sniper named James. And since all these murders were committed with sniper rifles, James becomes the biggest suspect now. Immediately, the whole team goes to catch him. After going to his house, they find James unconscious and bring him into custody. From his house, bullets, rifles, and even the same van are found. So the police are almost sure that James is the real killer. The next day, when James comes to his senses, Emerson starts interrogating him. There is a lawyer named Alex Roddy with him who is fighting a case against James. Emerson tells James 2 simple things. Either he should confess his crime and go to prison, otherwise he will have to face death directly. James then doesn't answer any of his questions. He just picks up a copy and pen and writes a line, "Get Jack Reacher," means find a man named Jack Reacher and bring him. Only then the real secret of this case will be revealed. Here it is clear that the one who killed those 5 people with a sniper, he and James are not the same person. That is, he is being trapped in this whole case very cleverly because all the evidence is against him. Only Jack Reacher has been able to get him out of this trouble. Now the question is, who is this Jack Reacher? Emerson researches and finds out that Jack Reacher is an ex-military police officer. As brave as he is, as brilliant. His skill top level was in both sniping and combat fight. His investigation power was so dangerous that he solved such and such cases while staying in the army, whose rule was not in the hands of anyone else. But while walking in the army, his rank was reduced from captain to major, and exactly 2 years later, he disappeared that no one could find any record about him. Since then, where is Jack Reacher? Is he alive or not? No one has any information. After hearing all this, Alex is in a lot of tension and tells Emerson that no matter how, we will have to find Jack Reacher. Then Emerson tells that we will be able to find him when he himself wants to come in front of us, meaning you understand that Jack Reacher is not an ordinary ex-army, but a very deadly level operative. Then his secretary comes and tells him that a man has come to meet you. His name is Jack Reacher. As soon as they hear this, their condition becomes visible, which they were looking for like madmen. He himself came to them. Jack Reacher comes inside, and without wasting any time, first of all, he wants to meet with James. He is taken to James, where he sees that James is unconscious and bandages are tied all over his body. Reacher asks, how did this happen to James? Emerson tells that when James was being brought to jail, the rest of the prisoners attacked him and beat him badly and put him in a coma. As soon as he hears this, Reacher understands that something is very wrong here. So without arguing, he starts leaving there. But Alex stops him and asks, why did you come here and what is your relation with James? But Reacher replies that James is not his friend. Emerson is surprised and asks, then why was he asking for your help? Then Reacher tells that he is a psycho sniper. Otherwise, why would he kill 5 strangers like this? At the same time, Helen Rodden comes there, a lawyer who is fighting the case on behalf of James Barr. The funny thing is that Helen is the daughter of Alex Rodden. Helen tells Reacher that she can be a big weakness of his case because James Barr asked for his help. This means that Reacher definitely knows something that can save James from this case. But Reacher clearly says that James has no one and he didn't come to meet him here, but he came to kill him and send him up. Hearing this, Helen loses her mind. Reacher wants to get out of there, but Helen tries very hard to convince him to discuss some things with him. Despite his unwillingness, Reacher agrees, and the two sit in a coffee shop and start talking. Helen records this whole conversation for the case. Now Reacher tells Helen that he also believes that James is the real killer.
Helen asks, "How can you be so sure without seeing any evidence that he is the killer?" Then Reacher shuts down the tape recorder and starts telling the old past of James. James was a very dangerous sniper of the US military. He used to print 2,000 rounds of ammo in his sniping practice every week. I mean, imagine if you practice 300 shots a day, then any person will become a sniper of what level? His shots were so perfect that he could hit a target in a blind spot even from a mile away. He was so crazy about his sniping that he was always looking for real enemies so that he could get his perfect shot feeling by blowing his head off. Finally, one day, his dreams seemed to be fulfilled, and he was sent on a mission to Iraq. He thought that now he would get real human targets, but when he went there, he found out that he was only responsible for keeping an eye on normal people, not to shoot anyone. For 2 consecutive years, he waited every day that maybe a terrorist would come in front of him so that he could use his real sniper rifle, but no enemy ever came there. Without even one kill, James started breaking inside. For a professional and crazy sniper like him, this thing was very painful. That's why James decided that he would commit a big crime. To vent his frustration, he killed 4 random people with a sniper rifle. Due to this undisciplined kill, he was court-martialed, and the full responsibility of the investigation of this case was given to Jack Reacher at that time. In the investigation, Reacher found out that the 4 people who were killed by James were returning the same day after a gang rape. James himself did not know this. So when the truth came out that he had killed 4 rapists, the allegations against him became very weak in this case, and with the help of Reacher, James was also saved from punishment. But even after hearing so much story, Helen is not ready to consider James guilty. When she thinks about it, some things also go to James's side. She asks Reacher, last time James had accepted his sin himself, so why is he not doing this time? She wants Reacher to help her so that James can get a fair justice. But Reacher does not accept any of her words. He just sits in the bus saying a simple thank you to return home. Helen is very disappointed because if Reacher does not help her, then it will be almost impossible for her to win in this case. On the other hand, things are also spinning in Reacher's mind. Really, if a trained army sniper wants to commit a crime, will he leave all the evidence there? And if he really just wants to kill people to get his frustration out, then doesn't he wait for himself to be caught by the police? From here, Reacher begins to doubt that he should see this whole thing with a cool mind. He suddenly gets off the bus and goes straight back to Helen. This time he says, "I will help you in this case." But he has a condition. Helen will have to meet the families of those 5 killed people and find out their personal life background, everything. And if it seems that James is really a criminal, then Helen will have to leave this case immediately. Helen agrees with Reacher and sets out for an investigation. But she doesn't know that for so long, a hitman has been keeping an eye on her every movement, because the real killer has found out that Jack Reacher has entered this game. That's why he has hired this hitman named Linsky to keep an eye on Reacher and Helen. In the next scene, it is seen that Reacher returns to the same crime scene, and this time he starts researching the entire killing mission in depth. Many questions start spinning in his mind. Why? How? And who committed this murder? After analyzing everything well, he is almost sure that James has been trapped in this case. I will tell you a little later why Reacher was so sure. Helen goes to the victim's house, but as soon as she tells herself to be a lawyer for the accused, the victim's family begins to show anger and hatred towards her. See this, Helen gets scared badly and immediately leaves there. She feels for the first time that how terrible hatred and pain are filled in the hearts of these people for James. Then suddenly his father Alex Rodden reaches there and starts scolding Helen. He says going to such houses and interrogating is not the job of a lawyer, it is the job of a jury. On the other hand, Jack Reacher sits somewhere at night and then keeps thinking about the same case. A big question spins in his mind. If the killer was a criminal, would he have paid for the parking? He should have sat in the car and taken the shot. At the same time, a beautiful girl, Sandy, comes in front of him and starts flirting with him. Reacher gives him his share and tells him clearly that there is no money in my pocket to pay you. Hearing this, she understands that Richard has abused her by calling her a prostitute. That's why she calls her friends and says, "This man called me a slut. Teach him a good lesson." Then Richard says, "Okay, let's go out and learn this lesson." As soon as they hear this, everyone comes out to fight Richard, but they don't know who they are going to mess with. There were 5 boys, but Richard says, "I just have to fight 3, because when I knock down the leader of this group, the other 2 will run away on their own." The boy laughs to hear this, and then a one-sided fight begins with a dangerous army. In just 5 seconds, Richard puts his leader to sleep on the ground. Seeing this, the other 2 attack Richard. Richard breaks one of their legs and hits the other one on the ground that he is suffering from pain. The remaining 2 boys then run away running for their lives. But just at that perfect time, the police arrive, and Richard is taken to the police station on charges of violence. As soon as Richard is caught, Helen reaches there to free him. What happened? If she wants to know. Richard tells her that the girl fell on him and came to fight. She is sure that someone had sent him to kill him. Richard goes on to say that the same day someone followed him on the bridge. Then Richard asks Helen, "What did you find out about the victims?" Helen tells everything in detail.
That day, all the victims in the park were passing through there for some reason. Someone to buy a gift for their husband, someone to buy a ticket for their child's baseball game. But unfortunately, their number came, and they had to be killed by this sniper. After hearing all the information, Richard says that one of these 5 will definitely be a real target. Because everyone's background story here was not very interesting, except for a woman named Onley Archer. Richard found Archer's story very interesting. Her husband ran a big construction business, but suddenly her husband died, and Archer got full ownership of the business. She had an option to sell this business, but ignoring her husband's love and all the pressures, she decided that she would not sell the company. Maybe that's why she lost her life, but Helen says that only theory will not work. This case needs proof to win, and she has no evidence yet. Then Richard says, "You try to collect all the personal details of James. You will find out where he went, who he met, everything. If you can check his bank and credit card statement, you will get more help." Saying this, Richard says goodbye to Helen for that day. On the other hand, Hitman Linsky comes to meet the real killer. This is the real killer, Charlie, who killed 5 people alone. But the only reason he was called there was that he was sent to keep an eye on Richard. But this boy attacks Richard by showing cleverness. Richard clearly understands that someone is following him. There we see an old man named Jack, who is the main mastermind of this whole story. Linsky apologizes for his mistake in front of him, but there is no meaning of forgiveness here, so he kills him there with a sniper named Charlie. On the other hand, Helen meets Richard and says that she did not get any special information from James's credit card. He is a very calm person. He has no friends and he never goes anywhere, which is called completely alone. But Richard sees that sometimes James used to get a full tank in his car. This means that he must be practicing shooting by going far in some range, because he can't live without such a passionate sniper shooting. So Richard tells Helen to collect information about all the shooting ranges nearby. After this, Richard arrives at an auto parts shop where Sandy works. As soon as he reaches there, he enters Sandy's room by force. Sandy starts shivering with fear when she sees him, but Richard calmly says, "Tell me, who told you to follow me?" Sandy doesn't say anything at first, but finally she says that a man named Jab told her to flirt with me instead of giving her 100. Then Richard finds out about Jab and tells Sandy to leave this city for a few days because he doesn't want such a beautiful girl to risk her life. After this, Richard goes to Jab's house to raid him, but as soon as he reaches there, he doesn't find any existence of Jab. The condition of the house is completely destroyed. It was clear that there was a big incident here a few days ago. Meanwhile, the people of the sniper had known that Richard had already reached Jab's house. That's why 2 people are sent to kill Richard. But Richard is not an ordinary man that someone said and killed him. Suddenly, a man comes from behind and attacks Richard's head. Richard sees that 2 people are standing in front of him with rods. Then Richard comes to his senses, and using his dangerous skills, he starts breaking both of them. At one time, he hits one on the ground and hits the other on the head and puts both of them in a coma. Then another man from behind puts a pistol on Richard's head. As soon as he is about to shoot, Richard immediately holds his hand. Richard held him so tight that the man began to suffer from pain. Richard asks him, "Where is Jab?" That man had a head injury, but he really says, "I don't know where he is now." After this, Richard takes his car and leaves from there. But soon another car starts following him. Richard meets Helen again and says, "I am 100% sure that James is innocent." According to his investigation, James is a super sniper. In this case, he will never fire from the place where the direct sunlight falls into his eyes. But these shots were taken from a place where the direct reflection of the sun was falling on him. Apart from this, James is not so stupid that he first throws a coin for parking and then takes a shot. If he wanted, he could have gone to the far bridge, sat in the car and taken the shot. And the sun was also behind him, so he could have hidden himself and taken the shot. And there were 6 shots. 5 people were killed, while there is no possibility of missing a single shot of a shooter like James. The attack on Richard also makes it clear that no one wants James to be proven innocent. When he notes the car he is following, he cleverly writes his number and gives it to Helen to trace. Upon tracing, it is found that the car belongs to a company called Levin.
And this company was having a fight with the company of that victim. only Archer. Archer Construction. This means that it is now clear that the connection of this murder is only Archer. This is not a serial killing case. With one target, the other 4 targets were killed, and it was shown as murder. Actually, the real target was only Archer. Helen says that this is just a theory and we need solid proof to win the case. But Richard says, I will find this proof. Meanwhile, Sandy hides somewhere else, but the sniper reaches there at the right time, and taking advantage of the opportunity, first punches him and makes him unconscious. Then, in a state of unconsciousness, presses his face and takes his life. When the police reach there, Emerson sees that Sandy has been killed and thrown in the dustbin. While going on the road, Richard sees that the criminals have already killed Sandy. Richard is deeply saddened by this sight. Maybe today this beautiful girl had to lose her life for him. But when Emerson sees Richard, he thinks he is a killer and wants to arrest him. Richard immediately understands the situation and starts running with his car. While driving fast, Richard starts a game of hurry and driving with the police. Here, his driving skills are worth seeing. Similarly, the game of cat and mouse continued, and Richard reaches in front of the supermarket at one time. Here, he slows down his car speed and leaves the car at one point and gets lost in the crowd. Then a public bus comes, and in front of the entire police force, Richard gets on the bus and saves himself from the police. Richard meets Helen after escaping from the police. Meanwhile, his father and Detective Emerson also come to meet him. Helen is not able to believe what they say. Emerson says that Richard went to Sandy's house this morning, and he has already killed Sandy's friends and sent them to the hospital. Now he is doing whatever he wants, so it is necessary to take him into custody. But Helen says that she really does not know where Richard is now. Just at the same time, Helen's phone rings and she hears that the call has come from Richard. Richard warns her about his father and Emerson. He thinks that someone in these criminals is definitely connected to them, because no one knew about Richard's arrival in this city except Helen, Emerson, and his father. This means that one of these two has conveyed the information of his arrival to these criminals. And because of this, these criminals are now following him. Hearing all this, Helen is also in a lot of tension. And then she gives Richard the location of that firing range where James used to practice shooting every day. The next day, as soon as Richard gets the address, he reaches the same firing range. There, he meets the owner of the firing range, Martin Cash. Richard tells his name is Aaron Ward and says that he is a friend of James, so he has come here to know about him. But Martin thinks that Richard might be a policeman, so he is not interested in helping. But Richard tells him everything about James's case. Richard says that he is working for James's defense lawyer, and Martin's help is very important to save James. Then Martin makes a condition. He gives Richard a shooting target and some bullets, and says, if you can hit these 3 bullets in the very center, then I will answer all your questions. Richard thinks, what a strange game this is. But without giving any other way, he listens to Martin. Martin gives him 4 rounds of bullets so he can run 1 round for practice. Richard takes his rifle and sets the target, but in the first round, he shoots very far from the central point. Then he adjusts the rifle a little and shoots 3 shots, which surprised Martin, because all these shots were so close that Martin had seen so many perfect shots after a long time. Then Martin says, you must be Jack Richard, because 10 years ago, only Jack Richard could take such shots. Hearing this, Richard is very happy, and Martin agrees to help him. Martin shows Richard some shooting targets that James used in his practice. Martin says that he has never seen such a perfect shooter before. But Richard says that when James was in the army, he was not such a good shooter. Maybe someone else was taking these shots, maybe a very close friend of James. Martin can't believe this, but when he sees CCTV footage, he is completely confused. Because there was always another person with James in this firing range, and that person was dangerous sniper Charlie. After taking the scoop, Richard calls Helen and gives information about the suspect. He tells Helen that he will reach her in 3 hours. During this time, Helen doesn't tell anyone anything. Helen listens to him and hangs up. Meanwhile, her father was present there. Helen gives him all the details of the corruption and illegal activities of the Lavender Construction Company. She requests her father to file a case against this company, because whoever interfered in their way, this company kills them. And because of this, Helen's life is also in danger. But her father does not take this matter seriously and wants to keep Helen in protective custody for safety. But Helen does not agree and leaves there. As soon as Helen gets on the lift, Emerson reaches there. And this time, Emerson makes her unconscious with a taser gun. Then, two people come and pull Helen away.
This means that Emerson is also a part of the sniper team. On the other hand, when Richard calls Helen, the same killer sniper Charlie picks up the phone. He tells Richard that if you want to save Helen, you have to reach her given address in an hour. But Richard was not less either. He tells Charlie, "I have collected all the evidence against you. Now I'm going straight to the FBI with them. What will you do with Helen? It doesn't matter to me." Hearing such a carefree answer, everyone present there, including Helen, is completely surprised. But then, Richard calls again and says, "Okay, I'm coming. But if Helen gets a scratch on her body, I'll bury you all alive in the ground." Hearing this, Charlie is very scared and they give Richard the entire address of their hideout. After this, Richard goes straight to their hideout to save Helen, but he is not alone. He is accompanied by Martin, the owner of the firing range. Although he is older, his shooting skill is still as dangerous and sharp. Martin had brought a sniper rifle with him so that he could cover Richard if needed. On the other hand, where Helen was brought as a prisoner, we also see that old man whose name was Jack. Actually, he was the real owner of the Lavender Company. First, Helen was doubting her own father, but now she had clearly understood that her father had no hand in all this planning. There, before leaving to save Helen, Richard calls her again. He reassures her that until they catch me, no one can touch you. Just trust me. I'll get you out of here and come back. Saying this, Richard gets on the real mission. He has only a small knife in the name of a weapon. On the other hand, Martin hides in the dark with a sniper rifle to cover him from above. But it was impossible to fight with a knife from such a distance because the enemies had sniper rifles and heavy weapons. That's why Richard had to get close to him in any way. With this plan in mind, Richard puts his car in the back gear and starts going straight down the hill so that he can somehow escape even if there is firing from above. The enemies had already started firing desperately and Richard's car is completely damaged. There comes a time when the car collides with a stone and gets stuck. At the same time, Martin starts attacking the enemies from above, which reduces their firing a little. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Richard gets out of the car and takes shelter near a large stone. But on the way, his last weapon, the knife, had also fallen from his pocket. That means now he has to fight 3 gangsters with empty hands. From above, Martin continues to fire, and Richard takes the opportunity and shifts from one stone to another stone, changing his position. While one shooter was continuously firing on the same stone, Richard did not get a single bullet. That's when Richard shows a great move. With the speed of lightning, he comes out from behind the stone, throws a brick, and drops the shooter at the same moment. Then he snatches the UMP gun kept with that person and kills another enemy and drops it down. Seeing the situation, the real sniper moves back, and when Richard goes to that room, he sees that no one is present there. Actually, Richard thought that perhaps Helen was kept here, but looking at a map inside, he finds that this is not the real place. The real main place is quite far from here, and Helen has been kidnapped there. So Richard now takes a bulldozer car and goes towards that place. It is seen in a little while that the gangsters there were taking the position of attacking the car. That's when Richard suddenly appears in front of them and kills them. Actually, Martin was driving that car and got stuck in this ditch and lost his life. Charlie and Jack come out hearing this voice and start looking for Richard. But Richard goes back in ninja style and catches him before he understands anything. Charlie has to throw his gun without seeing any way. But it's not fun to shoot people, so Richard also throws his gun and challenges him to hand-fight combat, because it's the same fun to beat with your hands as it is not fun to shoot. This is where a fierce fight between Sniper Charlie and ex-Army Richard begins. Charlie punches Richard, but Richard immediately starts showing his military style. One by one, he breaks Charlie's limbs with great strokes. And finally, the story of this terrible sniper ends there with a powerful kick of Richard. When Emerson, who is present there, understands that Charlie is no longer in this world, he takes out 2 pistols and taunts one towards Helen's head and the other in front of the door. The position taken by Emerson in that style, any perfect sniper can accidentally kill Helen. But Richard reaches near the door at that time and says, "I know, Emerson. The way you have taken the position, I can't leave you there and kill anyone else." Saying this, Richard suddenly takes a terrible perfect shot and breaks Emerson's head right next to Helen's neck. Now seeing Janak, Richard understands what the real situation is. Helen wants to call the police and get him caught. But Richard knows that the police will save him forever and he does not deserve it at all. So Richard, without giving him any time, immediately shoots him and blows his head off. Seeing this, Helen is very disappointed because now there is no witness left in this case.
Now she thinks how she will be able to save Richard and James. Richard then says, "You don't have to worry about me. I know you will free James." Saying this, he says goodbye to Helen for the last time. In the final scene of the movie, we see that James has regained consciousness. He says he doesn't remember anything about what happened that day. But after hearing everyone, he finds out that he killed many people. Now in his own mind, it seems that he might have committed this murder in his frustration. Then Helen shows him a photo of the park and asks, "Do you know this location?" James replies, "Yes, I know it very well." Then Helen asks him, "Suppose if you had committed the murder, which position would you have taken the shots from?" James says, "I would have taken the shots from that bridge so that there was sunlight behind my back, and I would have taken the shots from inside the car." Hearing this, Helen smiles a little because Richard had told her this theory before. This means there is no obstacle left to prove James innocent in this case, while Richard is seen holding a local bus and then heading towards an unknown destination. And this is where this movie ends.